Welcome to Focus on Albany. My guest today is Sergio Adams, and he's a freshman on the Albany Common Council, and he's my councilman. So, Sergio, how's it going?
Um, Things are going very well, I would say. Excuse me. Um, it's been a very busy few months. I feel like time has just gone by really quickly since January, and today's already April. So things are going well overall. It's being on the Common Council comes with a lot of responsibility. And one of the biggest things that I'm consistently trying to work on is time management, and just trying to um, be as supportive as possible to those things that are still important to me. So yeah.
So, has it been, I'm sure it's been a learning experience, so has there been anything that surprised you so far?
In terms of surprises, um, nothing has surprised me really. I would say it's been more learning experiences, eye openers, learning experiences more than surprises. Um, in terms of um, again, kind of like we were speaking about just before we started, of the additional time commitment to things that when you're a candidate running, these are things that you run on. But when you become an elected official, you get tasked with other responsibilities and things, and being able to manage all that. That's kind of been the eye opener in terms of acknowledging that only one person, and a lot of things that I may want to do, it all has to be planned and organized, and step by step. um, it's not just you have all the time in the world to do all these things. You have to be very intentional with what you're putting your time into.
So, over the past 3 months, what issues have you dealt with?
So in regards to issues, we've been dealing with some small business, some economic development, serving on the planning board, excuse me, the planning committee. Um, we've had some discussions about the outdoor cafes being permanent, and it increasing um, traffic for small businesses here in the city of Albany, coming out of the pandemic and transitioning back to our regular lives. The outdoor cafes was something that we seen a lot of residents appreciated and liked, and small businesses um, allowed themselves to bring in more money, and also attract new people to their restaurants and businesses. So um, we've been looking at that as a opportunity to again increase investment into our small businesses. But along with that, we've also been looking into some of the police reform issues, as well as the affordable housing affordability. So it's been a few things so far these last couple of months that the council has been able to address, talk about, and bring to the table. We've been moving through things fairly quickly, and so there's still a few other things that we're actually going to be voting on tonight that are actually super important, which are going to be like new local law A and new local law C. And I'm sure we can probably get into that as we continue.
So you represent me in the Seventh Ward. So let's talk a little bit about politics in the Seventh Ward. Has there been a lot of talk about economic development on Delaware Avenue?
That is something that has come up early on that I was working on. Um, early January, February, working with Capitalize Albany and bringing them on a tour of Delaware Avenue in the 7th Ward to get them familiar with some of the business owners and shops, but also to let our business owners and shops aware of the grant opportunities and funds that are available through Capitalize Albany. And so we did have that. I know, during the campaign, a lot of people wanted to see more restaurants and more activity back on Delaware Avenue. And that is something that I'm working adamantly to try to get done. And so, along with um, working with Capitalize Albany, one of the future goals is to try to get the Delaware Avenue included into the Lark Street Business District. So that way the businesses and shops along Delaware Avenue also get the same type of support as the shops along Lark Street does in the area. So that's something that I would like to continue to work on and make happen.
So I've lived in across the street from Lincoln Park since 2009. So what's the latest development with Lincoln Park?
So the water department and the Department of Park and Recreation are leading the task with getting the park redeveloped. And the right now we just kind of got past the snow, and so now that we're getting into better weather, we're seeing a little bit work pick up a little bit quicker over here inside the bowl. You can look inside the park from your building and see
Mm-hmm.
the bowl getting reconstructed. The dirt is being laid down. South of the bowl, the basketball courts are pretty much completed. The courts look great. The fencing is up around it. As you come back up towards the park, the the part where the sewer facility, the underground sewer facility is going, that's coming along very well. I've been speaking with the water department to have a walkthrough of the actual site and kind of see where things are and take some pictures, get a good understanding of their timeline for things moving forward. But overall, the project is moving according to plan. There's hasn't been hiccups as far as I'm aware of. So all things look very positive moving forward for the project.
So there was a number of trees that were cut down. Were
Mhm.
you upset about that?
Um, Not personally, no. Only because I spoke to residents along like Morton Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time, residents were concerned about the trees and the branches being overgrown and affecting the power lines. And so that was an issue that a lot of residents brought up and spoke about. So I was just glad to see that the branches and some of those things were actually done. When it comes to the trees, the city of Albany and actually the Common Council, we just also, put out voted on an ordinance to increase the amount of trees being planted in our neighborhood. So for those trees that have been trimmed down, branches removed, we're still going to actively look to be planting more trees in our neighborhoods along certain corridors to beautify, but not only that, but to replace some of the trees that had to be removed. So there are trees going to be replaced and additional trees planted more. So
Mm.
that's a great thing to see.
Now, I'm sure you remember me talking about municipal internet in the city of Albany. Is that
Mhm.
still on the table?
That is still on the table. I know Councilman Anane. is still working to get more clarification, I believe, on establishing some things. I don't know all the details, but I have seen emails and things go by, and he's working on that stuff. So as soon as more information comes out, I'll be able to relay that information back to
That would
keep
be
you
great. That would be
keep you.
great. So, what's on store for the next few months?
Well, some of the things to mention and bring up um, is what I wanted to speak about earlier, which is local law A. And right now, the council has been in discussion, going back and forth with language and things like that to get it right. But this legislation um, directly impacts the city charter by changing the charter to allow for, well, excuse me, let me kind of read it. Local Law A is amending Section 301 of the Charter of the City of Albany in relation to appointments of department heads upon consentment of a new term. So every 4 years, when a new mayor is voted in, they select the commissioners or the department heads. This legislation is changing that authority power from the mayor to the Common Council. A lot of the city charter powers and functions seem to favor the mayor based off the type of charter we have. And so I think the council is looking to have more say-so in the appointments of these positions and the people in there. So if we have departments who aren't delivering, if we have departments who aren't meeting the requirements or expectations of the city or its constituents, the residents here in the city of Albany, this will allow the Common Council to have them come in, stand in front of us, sit in front of us, and speak to what they were able to accomplish and why they should be reappointed for another 4 years. So that is just one form of legislation that will be possibly coming through in the near future. Along with that, there is the talks of a public safety commission.
Okay.
And police reform and addressing some of the racial disparities when it comes to social justice issues and things of that nature. This is going to allow for the city of Albany to have a new position created, a public safety commissioner, which will be separate, its own entity, but they will hopefully have the authority and the power to request and get information and make suggestions, recommendations to the police department, the Albany Police Department. And so this is another way to hopefully get accountability, but also get information and answers in a reasonable time. They will be separate from the CPRB, but hopefully work in conjunction with the CPRB to address some of these issues that come up here in the city of Albany. Even one, for example, a couple of weeks ago with the gentleman on the dirt bike and the officer mowing him down. Hopefully the police commissioner and the CPRB will be able to work in conjunction when things happen like that to, deal with it appropriately.
Over the past couple of years, the summers in Albany have been pretty violent with a lot of shootings and stuff. How is the Common Council going to handle if this coming summer will be like the past couple of summers?
That's a good question. I don't personally think we have too much of a control over the violence in terms of, if individuals want to grab guns and use them, you can't necessarily stop them. But, one of the things that the council is doing is, just like I mentioned, trying to put, measures into place, just like the public safety commissioner, making sure that we are working with the police department to address community policing issues, but also making sure that we're also providing the other resources to, prevent, whether it's young individuals or teenagers, from getting involved with that. And one of the things that, the city is doing well, which we just got done doing, is the summer youth employment. And
Mm-hmm.
so, this is a great opportunity for a lot of our young individuals to make money, to get skills, but to also create connections. The city of Albany is looking for businesses, organizations, people to take in these young kids, and hire them. The excuse me, the funds for the program, to pay the students, are already coming from a fund. So we're just looking for businesses to say, I want to help. I want to take these kids. I want to teach them a skill. I want to give them the opportunity. And, hopefully that, helps the situation. But again, we can't control adults. One of the other things that we can do is just be more vigilant and in our communities, and making sure that we are advocating, for our beat officers. We're advocating for, patrols at certain times of the evening, again, to ensure that, residents are safe. But the violence is something that we're still going to have to, as a community, as a city, address, not just the Common Council.
In your conversation with the residents of the Seventh Ward as you were going around campaigning, did you discuss whether the Seventh Ward or Albany as a whole, I'm sure Albany as a whole, the population has decreased? So, for people who you've talked to, how do they feel about this?
Just to make sure I heard you correctly, you're saying that the city of Albany's population has decreased, and how does people feel?
Yeah.
Um, it hadn't really come up too much.
Okay.
Um, According to like the census data, the most recent census data, the overall city of Albany's population has gone up. I don't think we hit the 100,000 mark, but I think we're like right below it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not something that has been brought up, but you do hear, friends, family, or neighbors moving to different places, so it's happening. But in terms of the effect on the neighborhood, not necessarily sure yet.
So, in years past, um, the mayor would go to the governor for 12.5 million to close the financial gap in the city budget, and it seems like we're flush with money because of COVID. Can you describe that a little bit?
Sure. I'll say, in regards to that the city of Albany was giving, I believe, 81 million dollars in COVID funds. The city has set aside, 25 million for community needs. That's part of the funds that the city has put out in terms of the ARPA funds for small businesses and organizations to apply for. Um, so that has been going on for the last 3 months. We've been reviewing applications just recently. um, making sure that we're able to get these organizations and businesses approved in time to get the money out. Um, a lot of the funds will go towards um, making improvements to the city of Albany. I can't necessarily speak to um, how sustainable this money will last
Right.
before we have to, go back to ask for more funds in the
Right.
future. But for right now, we do have some money to work with, and it's all about making the right investments in areas that we all want to see and that we know will benefit majority of the residents here in the city of Albany.
Okay. So, from your perspective, what's it like to be an elected official?
What is it like? It's it's one of the greatest things I could ask for, I guess, I suppose, in terms of I asked for this. I ran
Mm-hmm.
for this. So I'm grateful to, be in this position
Mm-hmm.
because it could have easily gone differently. So being in this position comes with a lot of responsibility, um, not only just as a new, council person, but, um, you know, as far as I know, like I think like all the previous, you know, council people that I met in this position were all, white women or you know no one has been a young person in this seat representing the seventh ward. So I have these different things to take into account to make sure that I put my best foot forth and making sure that the residents in the seventh ward in the city of Albany are taken care of. And so with that comes a lot of pressure, to always, be accessible, um, you know, support the right things, do the right things,
Mm-hmm.
be at the right places. It's Albany politics at the end of the day. And as a new person, I'm just learning and just, keeping the mindset of community first. Everything that I'm trying to do and going to do, it's all with the community first mentality and trying to address the real issues that regular people deal with day to day and that we can actually solve.
So
Um,
you,
so,
so how many new council members are there?
I believe 6 in total, maybe half of us are new,
Okay.
five of us
Okay.
are new.
So
Um,
do you think this new council is a lot more autonomous than maybe councils in the past from the administration?
uh, that's a good question. I think so. I think, we're trying to get there. I think that this council is, um, pushing things in the right direction, and um, still early on, so it's I don't want to speak too soon, but yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, so far these last 90 days or so, things have been going pretty well. So,
That's terrific.
um,
So, um, and of course, the other freshmen, it's like a little club more or less, and you're all learning together, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's that's how it feels. Everyone is supportive of each other. Everyone is being accessible to each other, being helpful
Hmm.
to each other. So, again, I'm glad to come in and the environment is this environment and not a toxic or um, weird environment. I think we all are able to conversate and speak our minds and opinions and come back to the table to come to an agreement on something. One of the things that I do want to bring up and mention, because this
Sure.
is something that um, is important to me. You live right here close by me. And so one of the things that the council is also going to be speaking about is parking and parking enforcement. So hopefully in the near future, there'll be a parking enforcement study done on all the neighborhoods in the city of Albany to really get an understanding for the parking issues. I know for over here in this part of the Seventh Ward, South Swan, Myrtle, Elm, Irving, Park, parking is very tough. And it's even more tougher in the Sixth Ward, where it's more dense over in the Lark Street area, over
Mm-hmm.
by the state capitol.
Right.
What's being proposed is basically um, they're looking to expand um, the permit parking. So residents who have a parking permit already, let's say, Cynthia, you have a friend that wants to come visit you, they can't park in your parking lot, so they have to
Right.
park on the street.
Mm-hmm.
What this, legislation is trying to do is saying that person that's coming to visit you, they can only stay parked there for 2 hours. Then they have to move their car in a whole different area. So they can't move it right across the street. They can't move it a couple spots off the street. They have to move it somewhere completely different. To me, that just doesn't make sense. Um, it just doesn't make sense. I don't think it's fair for the people who live in the area, for their visitors, for their
Right.
guests. Um, so these are some of the issues that we're having conversations at our council meetings and during our caucus meetings that I want feedback from the public and for people to share their stories, because even today, as I was meeting to speak with you, I noticed right here on our street on South Swan, 3 cars tickets from this morning from not moving their vehicles. But these people live right here. And so that's kind of messed up that a person, is getting ticketed parking in front of their own homes, especially when, some of the individuals in your building are seniors.
Right.
So, people who are on fixed incomes and they have to constantly deal with getting over ticketed, it's really unfair.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work on some legislation to bring forth to, make this parking situation more flexible and lenient, not only to the residents, but to the visitors who come in Albany. That that can really hurt our small businesses having to go in for dinner or go in somewhere and then having to worry about running out and moving your car. So I'm looking forward to try to work with the other council members and our park enforcement authority to really get a real solution for this, because it's like I said, it's unfair.
You know
But
what? Our time, excuse me, our time is up.
okay,
But one of the things that when you mentioned parking, like by St. Peter's in
sure,
that area, the traffic is just unbelievable. So,
agreed.
we might have parking problems, and yes, there is traffic, about 5 o'clock here, but it's nothing like, you know, further uptown. And I think that's an issue maybe we could talk about next time because
Absolutely.
it's something. I know Sam Fine has been working on trying to get the buses to do uh, free, free fares.
Yes.
And I haven't heard much on how that's coming along, but I plan on asking him. Do you know anything about that?
Just besides, I think the CDTA is trying to find ways to work to address that problem.
Hmm?
I don't know too much details of where Sam left off with that. But I do know, like the last conversations, people were open to the idea and wanted to try to do something about it. So
Mhm.
hopefully that's something that we can revisit. Sam is also in the Seventh Ward, So I just wanted to, well, not really, but he's still a 7 Forward committee person. So still would love to
Right.
work with him and maybe bring that back to the table and see how we can get that done on a city level.
Great. So, in our final moments, tell everybody how they can reach you.
Well, the best way to reach me is my website. It's www.sergio, the number 4council.com. I'm also on Facebook, Sergio Adams. I am also on Instagram at Councilman Sergio Adams. And yeah, besides that, you can contact me through my city email, which is going to be sadams@albanyny.gov. So
It's
multiple ways
Sergio.
to reach me.
Sergio, it's been great talking with you, and we'll talk soon. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great
Absolutely.
day. Have a
Thank you.
great day.